This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is. Yes, sir. The one and only Eric Galko, of course, Director of Football Operations and Player Personnel for the East-West Shrine game. How you doing, my friend? How is life?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah,
Everything's great, man. It's an exciting time right now. We're a little over a week away from the NFL draft and talking with teams and our players and all that kind of stuff now. It's a fun time of year for sure.
Yeah, you're kicking ass, dude. You've taken the East-West to, another level. And so it's just I'm really proud of you, dude. It's just you've fought your way throughout all of this for many, many years now, and it's got to be pretty satisfactory for you watching the East-West grow.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of great work by our whole team, Shriners Hospital team, and our team on the scouting side, the operations side, and try to do things. It sounds cheesy, but take care of players in the right way, change our schedule, kind of focus on being in a best-in-class event environment, and thankfully we've grown by draft picks every year since I've been here. Hopefully, and week and a half that continues, and we have another uptick in draft picks again this past year as well. And having guys like Shedeur Sanders be at the event doesn't hurt the awareness, but we're excited to grow. And the Shrine Bowl has been a huge passion the last 4 years for myself and our team, and we're excited to hopefully keep it going. And the goal is to be a best-in-class event, and I think we're on our way there.
And I know you might, people might say, oh, he might be a little biased because Shedeur went to his bowl game, and I'm not blowing any smoke up your ass in all of this because I don't do that anyways. But and it's blasphemous what I'm about to tell you. I just told Charles Davis this. I don't know why I'm wrong, but I have Shedeur ahead of Cam. I love Cam's moxie. I love his talent. Definitely, he's physically more gifted than Shedeur. But one of the things I did not see here in Miami was structured passing, where it was a 3, a 5, a 7-step drop, where he dropped, planted, and threw. There was a lot of ad-libbing, a lot of all of that, where with Shedeur, I saw a lot of structured football. I just kind of feel he might make the transition a little better than Cam. I'm not saying that, Cam's going to be terrible or anything. I just think he's going to have some trouble, a lot more trouble transitioning to the next level than Shedeur. Why am I wrong here? Because so many have Cam ahead of him.
Well, I would say this. I've got no Cam and his family the last 3 years, and I love Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward would have been a first-round pick. I think he would have been one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in last year's draft, which is this renowned class. I think 6 guys, 7 guys going the first. I think I would have taken over a lot of those guys too. So I've been a Cam supporter for a long time. I think the way Cam sees the game, his confidence, his ability to improvise, his natural feel, it's very point guardish. We say a lot about quarterbacks, but not every guy can, some point guards can run an offense. Some guys can be the offense. I think Cam can be that, right? Like a Chris Paul, like he can post up, down low. He can play from the top. Like that's what Cam Ward can really be too. I think Cam is special. And I think what I think happens a lot in the draft is a lot of groupthink makes, hey, Cam is 1, Shedeur is 2, and it makes the separation between those guys seem so far. It's really not. And that happens at all positions, not just quarterback. But, there are, people in the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing one thing, and I know they're considering a lot of different things, right? Hey, everybody has Mason Graham as a top D tackle. That's not consensus, but it feels like it becomes consensus outside the NFL because people kind of share the same kind of notes too. So I think to your point, if you said Shedeur is above Cam, I think there'll be a lot of NFL teams who said on the field, they wouldn't balk at that. They may disagree, but they wouldn't be like, oh, no. But I think the perception has been there's this huge delta between the two. I think they're actually what Shedeur does when Shedeur is under pressure, working through contact, moving outside the pocket to his left and still being extremely accurate. He's better at that than Cam is. I think Cam is maybe better when it's truly a rolling out left to right, being able to be on time and be more precise and on time and not rush throw. Sometimes Cam's better there too, but they both have their own strengths and weaknesses. Gun to my head, maybe I say Cam is better in a vacuum by a small degree, but I think it depends on what your offense wants to be. So I think to your point, man, those 2 are the 2 best quarterbacks in this class. I think that's pretty clear. I think those 2 guys would be among the top 4 or 5 in most draft classes the last decade. I think both those guys are going to go early on Thursday night and both be very good quarterbacks in the NFL.
Is Dart the outright number 3? And tell me a little bit about Kyle McCord because, man, I like him. I don't know why, but I like him. I think he's got an arm, intelligence, and accuracy. And I think if you put him behind a team that can actually block, you might find something there. So tell me about those guys.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, like putting aside Cam and Shador, there's a much wider array of who 3 through 7 are around the league, and that's healthy. That's good. But there are some teams that really like Jackson Dart and are bullish on his upside. I think me personally, I think Dart would be best served for kind of a redshirt year in the NFL and really learn and digest. I think if he comes back to school at Ole Miss, maybe he is a first overall contender next year. He may be a first round pick this year, anyways. But I think Jackson Dart's a darn good player. Tyler Shuck, obviously, he's had his injury and the age stuff, but he makes some unbelievable throws. And somebody that they compared him that I was talking to in the league to Carson Wentz at his peak before Carson Wentz's injury. I like that comp a lot. Makes a lot of sense to me, right? And you mentioned Kyle McCord. I think Kyle McCord, and I've thought this since October, that he's the third best quarterback in the draft.
Wow.
Him and Tyler Shuck from Louisville, the two guys that I've liked the most. And hey, we invited to the Shrine Bowl Shador, Cam, Kyle McCord, Tyler Shuck were our four guys in mid-October, and that really hasn't changed. And I think the naysayers of McCord will point to, well, he's not a great athlete. It's okay. He's probably as fast as Shador is or Tyler Shuck is, but okay. He did have the one, 5 interception game against Pittsburgh. That was a bad game. Kyle is very self-aware. That wasn't his best game. But, man, if you play his career out and he stays at Ohio State, he's not forced out, and they won a national championship this year, Kyle McCord's a top 10 pick in the draft. He's not worse of a player. He only went to Syracuse and won 10 games at a school that has won 10 games in 3 decades, right? So I think Kyle's resume, just looking at him and kind of separating that 5 interception game and who he is, yeah, man, I'm with you. And there's a lot of people in the league that I think agree. And whether he'll be QB 3, 4, 5, 6, we'll see. But, there are 4 or 5 teams that really like him that I think the top 100 is where he's going to go. And I think that who the third best quarterback is in this class 3 years from now, if you told me it's Kyle McCord, if he's second best quarterback in this class, if the best quarterback in this class, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think he has that kind of talent.
Yeah, and to me, see, I when you said, it depends on what offense you put him in, that there's a lot of that when I see with Tua the issues here. Like when he came from Alabama, he came from a place that had a line, that had a running game, so he can then do his thing and pass. But here he doesn't have a running game. He doesn't have a line that gives him time. So the plays aren't even brought in on time, where he doesn't even have time to adjust against the defense or switch the play out or anything like that at times. It's not very conducive to a quarterback having success. And to me, it's so important to understand what you have. Oh, I have a running quarterback. Okay, let me try to run this kind of an offense. Okay, I have a passer, but not an athlete. Okay, let me make sure I block for the guy. That kind of stuff. And to me, that's half the game. And when I look at like Tua here, I believe you can win with the guy, but you're not going to win with the guy when there's so much dysfunction around him. You have to give him the structure he needs in order to have success.
I think it may be a better way to look at it, in my opinion, is where can this guy be successful? Like, what is going wrong that he can still be successful? As a quarterback in the NFL, you've got to make up for other players not being great, other aspects of your team, right? And there are some quarterbacks who can win without a great seam player because they can throw those tight windows and be really on time. There are some quarterbacks who, Tom Brady was great at this too, like, hey, A-gap pressure he was okay with. He can deal with that, right? He can step out of it. And the Patriots could not invest as heavily in guard and center because he can make up for that, right? As a quarterback, you got to make up for some area. No offense is going to be perfect and have great players across the board, right? So I think as a quarterback, it's like, all right, Tua, he is able to make small windows even smaller because he can be really on time and really accurate, especially in the midfield, right? Cool. So maybe I need to have focus on the offensive line and maybe less resource allocation to receiver, right? It's those kind of things as well, too. I think that's how you want to really approach building a team, is kind of prepare for the worst and where can we be bad at because our quarterback can make up for it. And that's, I think, how you can build a team successful with a quarterback. And I think for, Shedeur Sanders, it's, hey, you know what? We can allow A-gap pressure to come at him because he'll work through contact. He'll finish when people in his face do. We can maybe give up some guard center talent or, draft capital or whatever else and invest elsewhere. For Cam Ward, he's maybe better off if you have more B-gap pressure, let him step up in the pocket, or Kyle McCord, same thing too. And I think it's a lot of focus there too for all these guys. But no, I go back. I think Kyle McCord would have been one of the better quarterbacks in last year's draft too. And a team's not needing as many quarterbacks, not looking for first rounds, going to push him down a little bit. But McCord, Shuck, Dart, Milroe in the right situation with time to develop. Quinn Ewers being forgotten about, and he was hurt this entire year. Like, we're going to see at least one or two of those guys be starters as a rookie and be long-term NFL starters in this class.
Yeah, and I would imagine that one of those guys is going to be a trade bait guy. Somebody in the draft is going to pick them, even though they may not need them, but that they're going to use because or they're picking them for somebody already in some kind of a trade. But I could see that happening. Not for the Dolphins because they're trying to save their jobs, so I don't think they're going to do that at 13. But I can see that happening with those guys. All right, so Dolphins at 13, Eric. What is realistic? I love Membu, but apparently my boy is going to be gone by then. So, and now with the Ramsey thing, do you go corner? Do you go safety because guard and defensive tackle is plentiful and you might be able to get one in the second round?
I think for the Dolphins, I'm a little more optimistic. I think that's something I've seen online about the depth of their talent, but I think they need to get a couple more feature guys in the D tackle spot, the corner spot, and maybe receiver if there's some Tyreek Hill issues, whatever the case may be too. But I think for them, this draft sets up that they will likely have a really good defensive tackle, a really good corner, maybe a really good receiver available for them, maybe one of the better guard tackles available to guys like Kelvin Banks or whoever else it may be, or Josh Simmons. They want to go him at 13, and he's going to go in the teens or 20s anyways. But I think, man, seeing Will Johnson go there and replace Jalen Ramsey would be an awesome fit for Miami. D tackle, there's some depth, but Mykel Williams at Georgia, if he's still there, he's going to be a heck of a player, and he might be the pick at 13 as well too. And then people have kind of diminished Josh Simmons or Kelvin Banks because of injury or whatever else. And those guys are really good 10-year NFL players. And I think if Miami wants to address the offensive line, I love Pat Paul. Still talk to Pat Paul pretty frequently. He's my guy. And he's their left tackle for now. And he'll have to earn that job. But they're going to have some really good opportunities. And if it was me, man, if I can get a Will Johnson or Mykel Williams, like those guys are, a different world. They're going top 5 in the draft. Getting those guys at 13 would be pretty awesome.
All right. In the second round, where the Dolphins pick, what are the better positions at that part?
Well, Kyle McCord be an option. No, but besides quarterback, I think D tackle is going to be a pretty prime spot in the early second round. It's looking like 3, maybe 4 go in the first, but we'll see 5 or 6 go in the second, and 4 or 5 more go on day, in round 3, then part of day 2. So I think if that's going to be a really big need, which, again, I'm not a Dolphins expert necessarily, mentioned maybe you are, but I know it's a need for them. There are going to be a lot of great players, whether it's a Walter Nolan or a Ty Robinson or a Josh Farmer at Florida State. Like that early second round will be a lot of good value too. And, it feels like the top 50, 55 picks are going to be really strong. And I know people always want to say in the draft, let's trade back, get more picks. That sounds awesome. Your 6th round pick you're getting might not be good anyways. Just take the best player you can. And I think if the Dolphins leave a draft with, Will Johnson and Walter Nolan, man, you can look back and be like, we got 2 top 10 picks in our first 2 round picks. So I think going corner and D tackle make a lot of sense. But, offensive line is not going to be as deep in round 2, round 3. And if that's a need for them too, you can't ignore needs when you have a need like that too. So, they'll have a lot of D tackle options there in round 2.
Eric Galko joining us, Director of Football Operations and Player Personnel for the East-West Shrine Game. And, something up your alley, man. The third day of the draft, you're going to know about a bunch of these guys. Give me 2 guys you're super excited about that people may have not been talking about. It doesn't matter what position it is. Give me 2 guys that Eric Galko loves in the third day.
On day 3?
Yeah, day 3.
Yeah. I might take my kids here. Jalen Conyers, tight end from Texas Tech. Really, really athletic. Again, I say this often too, but it's a good way to think about, players and their abilities. He was a top recruit at Arizona State, kind of fell out of favor with the coaching staff, goes to Texas Tech. Good fit, not a great fit, but this guy is a first, second round talent. Showed that at the NFL Combine. Tight end from Texas Tech, Jalen Conyers is a guy that if the Dolphins want a tight end, or anybody wants a tight end, late day 2, early day 3, he'd be tough to really pass on. 2 speed guys, Dante Thornton of Tennessee and Jimmy Horn of Colorado. I think Dante Thornton will probably go late day 2, but if he's there in early round 4 and day 3 of the draft, I know Miami likes speed at receiver. He's one of the fastest guys in this class at 6'4", 215. And then Jimmy Horn of Colorado, I don't care what his 40 time was. He's hit 23 miles an hour on a GPS. That's pretty rare. And he's one of the best downfield players at receiver. in this draft class. And then Kobe Bryant, corner at Kempson. At Kansas. One of the best man corners, if not the, one of the best man corners in this draft. I'll hesitate to say one of the best, if not the best, but feisty, talented, trash talker, confident. Been productive in college too. When he feels like he might slip to the third day of the draft, despite being a plug-and-play starter in a man defense. So those are my 3 or 4 guys I like a lot on early day 3. That shouldn't last too long there in the 4th round, but it'd be damn good players in the NFL.
So what you got planned for the East-West Shrine this year coming up, or next year coming up?
Yeah, working now and talking to some players for next year already, and spreading the good word what the Shrine Bowl is all about. But we're excited to, we had a great experience in Dallas the last 2 years and aiming to stay there for the future. And, the goal here is to keep expanding as an event, keep having better and better players. Hopefully, people like yourself and people in the major media keep experiencing what we do. And I think we take care of our media, NFL teams, players in a great way. And, the better players we have, the more first-round guys like Shedeur Sanders, the more it provides an opportunity to provide awareness for the hospital and what Shriner Children's does worldwide and certainly nationwide too. So it's a huge passion of ours to make sure that we're telling people about the good word of what we're doing at the Shrine Bowl. To players can speak about their experiences, agents, media, NFL clubs, all kind of had a chance to experience it the last couple of years, and we're excited to keep growing and make sure this event is the best all-star game and a best-in-class event for the future.
And by the way, it looks like looks like Cristobal is really picking up that recruiting, and it looks like this year the U is going to have quite a few players like they haven't had in a while. I think Mark is starting to bring them back now and get more Canes in the draft. And at the
they're going to have probably 7-8 draft picks this year, maybe more if it's a good year as well. And Carson Beck next year, among many others. I was there on campus last summer. I'll be there again this summer as well to see the players, talk to Coach Cristobal, and talk to their staff as well too. And I remember last year being like, that guy's a sophomore, that guy's that hasn't played yet. You got Mawa Noah at left tackle. He's going to be a guy. So, they're going to have they'll probably have 15, 16, 17 draft picks across this year and next year. That's a pretty damn good rebuild for a program that desperately needed it.
By the way, no more moving for the East-West Shrine. We got to keep it somewhere for a while now. We good?
That's the plan. We love Dallas. We're hopefully going to finalize something here soon too. But the Dallas Cowboys, the Jones family has been great to us, and we're hoping to stay in Dallas a bit longer for sure. Yeah,
it's centralized, and that's a great town to do it in. So I hope you guys have a ton of success there for a long time. You're doing an awesome job, dude. And as always, Eric, I appreciate the friendship over the years. Thank you for taking some time and giving Dolphins a little knowledge. Appreciate you. And hopefully I'll see you next year, my man. Visit you guys.
Yes, sir.
You got
Thanks,
it.
buddy. Appreciate the time, man.
You got it. Eric Galko, Director of Player Personnel and Director of Football Operations for the East-West Shrine game and Optimum Scouting too. So I've known Eric for a long, long time, man. Watch him grow up in this business and do a great job.
This is the Big O Show.